obviously there was been some controversy like leading into the show, like right before it like released on Disney Plus, and you made some comments about your fear of Spider-Man being too woke, right?
Yeah, the elephant in the room. I'm actually really glad that you asked about this.
Yeah. Because I gotta let you know, like, as a black man and someone who's like known you like previous, like, our relationship and everything, like I saw that, and low key I was like, what you mean by that, man? Like,
totally.
it low key hurt, especially as someone who's online and like every time like I talk about race like very openly and like, things, and you get that all the time. So hearing it come from you, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have to check in and see what's going on here.
Totally. So this was my first experience with how the media can take something and make it mean the opposite of what it is supposed to mean. So obviously something that I said was cherry picked and used essentially with like no context, just to kind of stir up some drama.
Okay.
And basically what was happening is it's like, we were talking about that little period of time before the show came out where people knew it was coming out,
right,
but they hadn't seen it yet. And I was noticing a lot of comments online that I was getting that was either a criticism or people being nervous or expressing concern, that the show was like using topics of diversity and equality in an inauthentic or disingenuous way.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me like defensive. Like I wanted to kind of defend our show a little bit. And the only thing that I meant when I was saying that, and it was such a poor choice of words, and I, like it was kind of just a jumble. But my point was that our show doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to pull any tricks. Jeff did such a brilliant job, in my opinion, of, just writing what he knew. And I think as audience members, honesty resonates, right? And it's like I was saying a minute ago, like I feel like every, piece of, involvement and equality and diversity was just already baked into the story he wrote. Right. And he didn't, and nothing felt forced.
Right.
I suppose. So I was really just trying to compliment like the grace in which that all plays out in the show. And ironically, it's what like attracted me to the show so much in the first place, is I was like, man, like this is like really well done in my opinion. And I loved every aspect of it, but like, it was really upsetting because I was like, people think I mean the opposite of what I mean.
They think you mean what like the incels and the like racists on the internet.
Yes, man. And
it.
I was like, you are my like people. Like I'm on your side.
But that's the danger of it, right?
I know. And so, I am glad that I'm here with you and can just be like a million times over, like I am the most supportive of like how inclusive this script is, like to the max.
And that I want to talk about like, that's like the danger of kind of like, using buzzwords like woke and things of that sort, because again, like as soon as people hear that, there's a reaction that's going to happen because of that, right? And I feel like a lot of people, mainly people on the internet, people who don't want to see like diversity and inclusion and things, I mean obviously we have a president that's rolling back on a lot of those type of things, they have unfortunately co-opted the term woke, and now it means something completely different. So now every time every time like someone says it, like it's not what you mean, which is why, like, when I saw what you said, I was like, okay, but you accepted the role knowing what was baked into the show already. So to say that after the fact felt very weird. I'm like, that did, like, it wasn't, the puzzle wasn't adding up.
Why
it wasn't
would I
adding up for
do
me.
the show if I was, again,
because the show's in the can. The show's like, like the show's already done.
But that's that point.
You've worked with Zeno and Jeff, like all these.
Yeah, these are all my best friends, and like everyone I would hope who knows me like knows kind of how I feel, and I'm like the most artsy fartsy left. Like I grew up in a family of hippies, pretty much. So yeah, it was wild, but like I'm so glad that you brought up that point specifically, because that word has almost shifted in a way that like I didn't fully even realize that, like how that had happened, like to such a crazy degree. Is like it has become like the definition has changed.
And I want to make it like clear, like I don't feel like the definition is still the same, and I feel like we as people in like the POC community are trying to like take it back and like try to educate. It's hard to like educate people who don't want to listen, right? And like when I obviously I know woke is like being like socially conscious, you know, being conscious of like gender, like, you know, disparity, gender disparities, racial disparities, things of that sort, like, you know, including everybody and making sure everybody gets a seat to the table. Yes. And kind of like shedding a light on when that's not happening, right? That's what woke means. Like, keep your eyes open for those type of things.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you have people who have, like you said, co-opted and now like are actively, and for the most part has changed the definition to say like, oh, they're just adding like more women or more black people or like whatever.
Exactly.
And so like, you know, I just was like sitting there going like, well, he accepted the role knowing that Norman and Harry are gonna be black.
You know, people trip out about like the race of this person or like the sexual orientation of this person, and all I was trying to say was like, guys, this like the representation in this show is like amazing, and it's like very authentic and genuine, and like I don't think anyone behind the scenes is like, this person needs to be like this and this person needs to be like this. Like, it's just the representation's there, and it's diverse and equal in its nature.
I mean, this is the conversation that we should be having, especially with the show like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, because I feel like, you know, the characters of Norman and Harry and even like the gender swap of Kurt Connors. It's Carla Connors, I believe her name is, right?
Yep.
Like, I feel like these are such inspired choices in the show, because if Spider-Man was created today, like if we took out like his Silver Age era and let's say like somebody decided to create Spider-Man today,
which is what this is,
pretty much, it's a restart. This would be what the world looks like, and it will reflect that, right?
Exactly. Like, that's what a modern day Spider-Man is. It's just, you know, that's where we're at. Like, it's not going to be the old Spider-Man.
And a lot of people like to hide behind I'm a purist, I just want it to be seen as it was originally seen, when in reality, you just want it to be seen that way because it's white. Like, it bothers you,
right?
Because like now you feel like you got this thing taken away from you.
Yeah, and that's
when you literally have 75 years of white characters within Spider-Man that you can always go back to.
Yeah.
You know, if you love Spider-Man that much, you will love the character's mythos, his story, his characterization, versus like the color of his skin and the characters and whatnot. And it has to, right? And so, you know, again, as someone who knows you and as someone who's like very like honest with his friends, I saw that and was just kind of like, okay, like I want to talk to you and like really see where that's coming from. Because like, again, being online is so easy to like kind of like take things and like get the sound bites and get the clips and the headlines and just kind of like take it as is.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, woke is such a triggering word for a lot of people that shouldn't be triggered by it, is that as soon as they heard it, they didn't think like, oh, well, obviously he accepted the role. Like if you were afraid of it being woke, why would you accept the role in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And these are questions that I, as your friend, that I was like, that's weird. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to talk to you about that.
Well, I'm really glad that you did, and you know, it was wild though. It's like that was my first experience with like any kind of like, I guess, backlash or like misunderstanding in the media of any kind, and like I've really like sat on my hands and been like, I want to. Obviously, like the first reaction is like, I just want to clarify like what I actually meant. But it was so intense for a minute. I wanted it to just kind of chill out. I wanted to like just really like think about my words carefully this time because like, you know,
I mean, I've been in the same position where like, you know, I've said things in a way that like definitely got like twisted and misconstrued. And like, that's just the nature of the internet, right?
Sure.
It's like, you've got to be very intentional with what you say, like, in, you know, a lot of times, especially like at junkets and things like that, like I talk about this all the time with like at red carpets where everything's just going at like a mile a minute, and you're just either trying to get the questions out or trying to get the answers out. And then, you know, usually in conversations like what we have on these type of things every day is like, you know, we clarify with each other like, oh no, that's not what I meant, like this is what I meant. But in this day and age of like social media, you get like one shot, and then once people have that perception on you, then like it follows and it lingers.
Guilty until proven,
you know?
Proven innocent.
So like, you know, we can talk about this all day, but like I feel like a lot of people's mind is either already made up, or like if at least people will be open to like hear what you say and be like, okay, like I see where he's coming from and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But you know, again, that's the internet, man. What like that? Welcome to the MCU.
Yeah, I know. And I was warned. Like, you know, everyone was like, it's a wild time out there in the comment section.
I mean,
like,
you saw what happened with like Brie Larson and how they tried to say like her co-stars hated her because of the clips that was. Have you seen that?
Yes.
You remember that? It was like a crazy time where they're like, oh yeah, none of her coworkers liked her, and like,
oh yes. I really
like,
remember this actually.
It was like that clip of like her and Don Cheadle and like I think Chris Hemsworth, and like she would say things and somebody would like edit it to make it look like they couldn't stand her, when in reality everyone loves her. So like, you know, and that's a narrative that still follows her to this day of like, oh, you know, like Brie Larson was a terrible co-star, and it's like someone who's met Brie Larson, she's one of the nicest people,
dude. If you don't, and that's like the terrifying part about it is like, you know, this publication like used like a very small piece of what I said without like the rest of the sentence that made it make sense.
Yeah.
But if you know, if I'm the reader who just read that and then like, you know, kind of forgot about it, like the impression that I'm gonna have of Hudson Thames is that like he's a jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's. So it's, you know, it's wild. It's wild, but
listen, I've had a lot of friends that's happened to. I've been on the other side of it. Like, you know, that's why a lot of times, like, I try to like follow up with like, you know, the homies or follow up with anybody and be like, hey, what'd you mean by that? So I'm glad that we had a chance.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, that feels really nice to be able to just kind of clarify what I meant.
Thank you so much for watching this clip of Get Wrecked with Straw Hat Goofy. If you guys want to see some more movie talk, other clips, or even watch the full episode, make sure you hit the links in the bottom and also hit the playlist. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk about the next film.